Hey everybody, welcome to Jason Explains Things. I make how-to and DIY videos on a variety of topics, including things about this awesome Toyota 4Runner. So if you like this video at the end, please consider liking it, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends if you think they'll enjoy it. So this video is gonna cover all about one of the most awesome and intimidating modifications I have ever done on a vehicle to date. And that includes all this awesomeness you see right here, which is a Covert winch bumper from CBI Off-Road Fabrication. At the same time, we also did a Warn VR10S winch and a 30-inch light bar from Diode Dynamics. So I've had this set up on my vehicle now for about 2 months, and it's already all been used and tested, and I'm so happy I already did it. It kind of saved us, and it saved some other people as well. Before we jump back into the shop to show you everything you're gonna need to know about how to install this, let's go over about why I love this setup so much. So there are a ton of benefits to this setup. First off, it adds much better approach angle. Frankly, the 4Runner already has an awesome approach angle, but this makes it even better. And of course, this adds a ton of extra protection that wasn't there before. Along the same lines of protection is this is designed to seamlessly integrate with the TRD Pro style aluminum skid plate you can get from Toyota, or you can get skid plates from CBI Off-Road themselves that also integrate perfectly. The workmanship is beautiful. I mean, really beautiful welds, very nicely constructed and US made. And then of course, the benefit is we can add a winch and we can add additional lighting. Now, doing this job does contain a lot of steps, including a lot of dismantling of the front bumper, cutting the bumper cover, and doing a fair amount of wiring new accessories. But if a dork like me can do it, you can do it too. Also, at the end of the video, if you're interested in purchasing some of this stuff for yourself, I will have links to CBI and Amazon links where you can buy this stuff yourself. And if you use those links, it supports my channel and helps me make more how-to videos like this one that you're watching right now. So, with all that said, let's jump back in time and I'll show you everything about how I installed this.
Buckle up, my friends. This project video is going to be a fun time, but also it's going to fill in a lot of holes most other videos on YouTube leave, including wiring everything up and avoiding potential disasters other videos I've seen may lead to. Let's do this. Victory!
Mwah! So let's get our hands dirty, but hopefully not too dirty with blood and tears and such. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're going to outline where we're gonna be cutting the bumper pretty soon here. Now, if you see this silver trim piece, this is actually very close to the shape of our Covert bumper that we're gonna be installing. So we're gonna take a Sharpie and pretty much trace from about this point to here, and then I'll show you how to get the rest of the cut later. But after we do that, we're gonna remove this piece, and then we're going to start taking the bumper cover off.
Let's start by marking the cut line with a Sharpie. Trace the top curves of the trim piece on both sides and then connect the two curves together, again, following the line of the center trim piece. With that done, you can remove the license plate mount and center trim.
Point and overturn!
Remove the radiator support cover by simply pushing in the center of these reusable clips.
All right, with that cover out of the way, we can see we have a lot of little things to take apart. We have our radar we're gonna have to disconnect. We have my front camera that I installed. There's a card, click on it later. And then there's just a bunch of little clips and 10mm screws and all sorts of things to get at all of that. All right, we got a whole bunch of 10 mils. These two in the middle we're not gonna be needing anymore, by the way. So you can just do whatever you want with those. There you go. Short, okay, long, short, short. Remember that. Organization. Pinching all your poor little fingers at the same time and just kind of going pop. There you go. Boom.
On my 2021 4Runner, I didn't need to disconnect the wiring for the fog lights at each light. Instead, there's one large harness connection on the driver's side here. Disconnect that and your bumper will come off no problem.
No, 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 no. Again, a lot of install videos for 4Runners show just cutting this on the car. If I would have done that, I would have cut right through, probably right here, and then over right here.
Next, we remove the wiring from the bumper and set it aside so we can reroute it later. Time to get cutting.
So don't make the mistake of cutting here. That would be, you're gonna see some things if you do that. What you wanna do is cut along this crease right there. So I'm gonna go doodly 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 doo. Just like that. There we go. Definitely try to do a good job, but at the same time, this is all gonna be hopefully covered up, so.
Here's some tips on how to get great results with your cut. First, cut on the inside of the line and then use a sander to smooth out the cut up to the line later. You can use a variety of tools to do this since it's just plastic. I started with a Dremel, but moved on to an air saw, which worked the best. It's a good idea to protect the area around the cut with masking tape, which I should have done. A common orbital sander works great to clean things up, along with a grinding wheel for the beveled corners. In the end, my cut turned out nearly perfect, which was a huge relief. With the cover done, it's time to remove the original bumper or crash bar.
Ready to see something cool?
Yes.
Ha!
Next, I needed to remove an accessory I'll no longer be needing.
So these are some rated recovery points I've had from Apex Overland for almost a year, and they've worked great. I've actually used these on the channel recovering other vehicles. Yeah, I think I'll do a giveaway of these. I'll clean them up and give them away. So follow me on Instagram and here on YouTube, and I'll give these away soon. Well, with our skid plate and those recovery points that I can't keep out of the way, we can now move on to removing our actual bumper, the crash bar here. It's just a smorgasbord of 14mm bolts, a bunch up here, right here, down in there, and over there. We're almost done removing things, my friends. We got to remove these extension arm dealy bobs for the old original bumper. We're not going to throw this hardware away though, because we're going to be reusing it to mount our new bumper. 14mm again. Next thing we got to do is we have to trim these two plastic pieces because they are going to interfere with our new bumper. So I need to cheat and check the internet, and I'll know how to trim these.
Exactly how to trim these pieces can be a little tricky, so here's some footage directly from CBI on how to do it for the passenger side and for the driver's side. Nice! Also, if you're really stupid and you cut these wrong, at least your mistake is going to be buried inside the bumper cover.
I messed up on that part. We're not perfect.
Let that be a lesson.
I'm not perfect. I'm sorry about this part. Yeah. So what you can do is, we're gonna do a bunch of test fits and stuff for the bumper now, the new bumper, so you can thread a bolt in backwards, one on each side, so you can set the bumper on there, do what you gotta do, test stuff, and be able to take it off, and it also makes the final installation easier too. Hey, well, we are totally apart now. Everything is prepped for the new bumper, so now let's move on over here and start assembling our bumper. We want to do the fair lead and the light bar first, then the winch, then we're going to do some test fitting to make sure we got a couple lines, a coolant line and a power steering line that we have to slightly adjust its location, and then we can put the cover back on and do final assembly.
fair lead. Oh boy. Yes. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. That fell out through sheer willpower of myself.
No one likes you, Chris. All right, mounting the light bar is really, really simple. So let me explain each individual part. So we have bolts. There's stainless steel bolts that came with the light bar itself from Diode Dynamics, and then these are the brackets from CBI, and those come with corresponding bolts, washers, and lock washers. So there's plenty of adjustability, and yeah, it's really, really, really simple. Fair lead and light bar are ready to go. Now it's time to mount our winch. So this is really simple. This is all supplied hardware from Warren. You have 4 bolts, lock, washer, and a washer. And then you have these little square mounting nuts that you slide into there just like that.
The winch and light bar both came with easy to follow instructions. No torque specs were given for this stuff, but we made sure everything was very secure because going back and tightening this stuff will not be very easy after it's all buttoned up.
So this is a kind of a decorative plate with the CBI logo nice and subtly put in there. That's kind of cover where we had access to the bolts for the winch, and also I think this is also to allow air in, of course. We gotta do a little bit of adjusting of a couple things here to make sure that we clear the solenoid on the top of the winch. So we have 2 things we have to move slightly. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bend this just slightly. I think the only part that might contact the winch would be right here, so we're just gonna push this very nicely. And then we're gonna loosen these 2 brackets right here, which are 10 millimeter, and then just push this line up. Use the buddy system. Chris kind of held it in the middle, and then I lightly tapped with a mallet just to bend this metal so that it kind of just pushed it up, because we have lots of flexibility. We have rubber over here and that, so we have plenty of room. But
next, Chris and I used a jack to do our first test fit. Everything looked great except the power steering line still touched the top of the solenoid. You can avoid this problem entirely by relocating the solenoid or relocating the line. We used what we had on hand to come up with a pretty elegant solution.
it's done. It's done. What do you like it? Amy, it's done.
I'm having a difficult time visualizing it.
I don't know why.
To solve our issue with the power steering line is we added a protective outer hose line right here. We have stainless steel cable ties here and here and a stainless steel hose clamp right here, and now this is very, very nice and secure. So again, this is not under a lot of tension because it's rubber lines on either side, so this just kind of wants to move around, but now it's nice and secure. There's no vibrations. Everything is protected. Frankly, this is now secured better than it was when we started. So I think it's gonna be great. You think it's terrible, write down a lot of comments about how it's terrible. That actually helps this video get seen by more people, so please do that. All right.
We're down to the last steps before final installation. First, connect the winch ground wire because doing this later will be very difficult. Second, there are two 5/16 inch bolts that need to be taped on each side of the bumper as you see here. This will make attaching CBI's side brackets much easier in just a bit. With that done, I removed the top portion of the grille from the bumper to make installation easier. Rerouted the passenger side fog light wiring, as you see here, and then Chris and I used the buddy system to install the bumper cover for the final time. Go ahead and attach all the screws and clips that hold the bumper cover in place, but watch for sharp edges. Ow! Time to install the new bumper. Raise it up into place, resting on the reversed bolts. If you need to, take a moment to marvel at how awesome your 4Runner looks.
Oh, it looks sick. Sorry, I just saw it for the first time, like, oh.
Install all the 14mm mounting bolts. Once you have at least one in on each side, you can turn the reverse bolt around and install it in the final orientation. With all the 14mm bolts loosely in place, next install the side mounting bolts that will finalize the bumper's alignment.
Awesome. Well, we went around, we got all the 14mm bolts and those big 19mm side bolts in. So now we just need to torque all of these bumper mounting bolts to 60 foot-pounds, and she is mounted. Okay, I think that one was 60. Yes. There it is. I'm really tired.
You got 2 left.
I don't. I have more than 2 left. Oh, thank you.
Now you have 2 left.
All right, everybody, time to install these side brackets that tie into your plastic. Now, this is also how you're going to be able to kind of adjust things if things are not quite perfectly straight. I mean, looking at this, it's pretty darn close, but I think that this side probably needs to come out a little bit like that to match perfectly. So now we can do that.
Even with the tape trick, tightening up the side bracket bolts to the bumper is tricky and requires a buddy to help.
The whole process of tightening up these side brackets and then kind of adjusting your bumper in and out is a pretty straightforward process, and it's also a process that will require a lot of swearing and frustration. So most of this is gonna be off camera. Right, Chris?
Wrong.
It took a while, but we got all the bolts tight, attached the bottom of the bumper cover to the side brackets, installed all the remaining fasteners, and the new bumper was installed.
Hey! All I have to do is wire stuff.
Cool.
Yeah!
Nice job.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Well, hello everyone, it's a new day. We got all of the mounting and the big parts of the job all done yesterday. This morning, I've got the skid plate back on and a couple other things, and now we need to work on wiring, and it's gonna be really simple. I've already done a little bit, and let me show you what I've done so far. Down here inside the bumper, we have the positive and negative leads for the winch, which are secured right here to this brace, just so things don't rub. And then over here, you can see this is the power cable for our light bar. And then that is going into a junction right here that I have some flex tubing and a zip tie to kind of combine these together so they don't rub or, you know, fray over time. Our 3 wires come in right next to the battery. We have the light cable I'm gonna hook up in just a second, and then I've already kind of loosely run the winch power, so that's for ground right there, and then for power right there. So for the winch, we're pretty much done at this point. We just have to hook up those positive and negative leads to the battery, and Bob's your uncle, you're done. Okay, now let's move on to this sort of complicated looking, but actually not that bad, wiring harness for the light bar. So, this is your connection to the relay. I briefly showed this earlier, but this is a relay holder specifically made by Cali Raised LED. So this relay will slip right on to this relay mount. So we actually will have 3 more mounts for other things in the future. What do we got? What do we got? Okay, so this is gonna hook up to your battery. Well, the red will hook up to the battery, positive on the battery, and the black is your ground, and that can hook up to any ground, whether it be the battery or something else. Now this cable is too short, as you probably can see, so we're gonna actually have to extend this. This one, not so much, but this one we're gonna have to extend so it reaches to the battery. Again, that's kind of scary to some, but with the solder butt connectors that I have and heat shrink, it's gonna be completely safe. This one is gonna go down to our light bar. This is way too gosh darn long, and so again, we're gonna be splicing this, adding heat shrink, and we're gonna keep it nice and protected. But you know, I've seen a lot of installs of light bars and things where people kind of coil everything up in the corner. I'd rather not do it that way. I'd rather keep everything nice and clean looking. So it's really not that hard to do that. So last thing we gotta do is pass this through the firewall, and then we can wire our switch on the dash. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut off that so it makes it easier to pass through.
I used some baling wire and electrical tape to pass the light bar wiring into the cabin through the factory firewall grommet on the driver's side.
I got you, wire.
Next, I removed these plastic pieces so I could get access to the blank switch I plan on using for my new switch.
All right, to wrap this project up, if you're using the same Cali raised LED switch that I'm using, you want to combine your 2 red wires to go to your blue wire, your green wire to go to your white wire, and your black wire with your black wire. And again, I'm still using the same soldering butt connectors as before. Yeah! Yeah! Okay, all I have to do is button everything back up, and this project is now done. Victory! And here we are back in the mountains in the rain for some final thoughts about this project. So first off, I am so glad I did it. And if you want to know why, I'll have a card up in the corner and a link down in the description for a mini bike adventure weekend where everything kind of went wrong. And this setup literally saved my family and some friends of mine from certain muddy doom. So a couple more important notes for you. And this goes right into my story. Now, you want to practice using all of your gear in your driveway, and you also want to pre-stretch your synthetic winch line before you use it for realsies. Because if you have to use this all for the first time in the rain like now, in the dark after midnight, covered in mud, it's pretty difficult to learn how to do all that in that moment. So I highly recommend practicing well before you are in a situation where you might have to use it. Also, this whole situation with the steel bumper, the winch, the light bar added probably about 180 pounds of weight to the front of the vehicle, or one Jason, and that definitely causes a couple issues. First off, it will probably sag your front suspension down probably at least an inch, and it makes the vehicle handle noticeably worse. So that actually leads right in to my next 4Runner video that you're gonna see here on my channel, where I upgrade the front and rear suspension to a system from Eibach, which is awesome and totally fixed this issue that I had. If you're interested in purchasing this stuff for your 4Runner, please use my links in the description. Now, I'm not sponsored by CBI or any of these companies, but if you use the links below, I do earn a small commission, which helps, again, make more videos for you guys, and I'd really appreciate that. So, again, like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed the video you just watched. And until next time, God bless, and don't forget to do it yourself. It's rainy.